Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. They always have been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. Guys, it's the start of a new week. Today is Monday, October 24th, 2022, and I no longer have a cold. I'm a little bit stuffed up, but I'm feeling a lot better, and I am excited to bring you guys the first show of the week. It'll just be me because, unfortunately, Sarah is still battling that cold. She is still getting over it. She is pregnant. I am not. Her body is going through a lot more than mine is. She is making a daughter for us, so it's kind of hard for her to get over the cold right now. So she's resting right now. So please be praying for her. She is hopefully, seemingly starting to get a little bit better, but looks like it might take a little bit more time. So it's just going to be me today, me and you and the other 198 of you that are watching right now. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button if you are excited for today's stream. And you saw it. Yes, we are just days away. Might be a couple of weeks, in all honesty. But honestly, I guess everything's just days away. Just doesn't know how many days. We are just days to maybe a couple of weeks away from what should be, technically speaking, a very large movement on the chart for Bitcoin. And we're going to discuss what that's going to look like in today's stream. As you guys know, Bitcoin has been in this descending wedge, this descending triangle pattern, for the last 4 or 5 months. We've continuously tried to push up and up and fail, and Bitcoin has now moved into this sideways trading pattern that is doing pretty much absolutely nothing. It's pretty boring, to be quite honest with you, and there's not a lot going on, but this is where the money is made in crypto. You might think, but Jebb, there's no volatility. I can't even trade. Bitcoin's not low enough for me to want to invest in yet, so you can't even make the argument that is bottom so that I can start buying in to make money 3 years from now, and you can't even say, yeah, well, Bitcoin's going to go to $100,000, but the money you make at 100K you actually made down here because you had to buy in before you sold, because we haven't even bought them, and I don't have confidence to buy in. Listen, I understand. I know that you might be confused by the reasoning that I say that, but the point is, Bitcoin is going to go into a massive bull market in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years. I think that will start in the next 12 months to 18 months. But before we get there, there are a few key things that Bitcoin needs to push through. Today, we're going to be talking about the Dixie. We're going to be talking about the pandemic, China, global grain shipments, and conflict in Ukraine, and tying all of those narratives together so that we can understand why Bitcoin has not rallied yet. And almost all of it goes right back to the strength of the dollar and the fact that dollar and Bitcoin tend to be counterindicators. We're going to talk about that in today's stream. Really looking forward to it, guys. We've got a great show lined up for you. Cannot wait. Make sure to hit that like button. We already got 100 likes. Thank you so very much. We are going to go ahead and give some shout outs to our green names. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. We got Crypto Bing Franklin. Sorry, you're a second-rate search engine. No, Crypto Ben Franklin in chat. Shout out to you, my friend. Jeremy Shorter in chat said, good morning, Crypto Jebb, Sarah, and team. Yes, hello. Crypto Ben Franklin also said good morning. We got Mike Lowry in chat. He said, here early, hoping to get a personalized at Crypto Jebb birthday shout out, and to remind you all to smash the likes. Guys, go ahead and smash the likes for Mike Lowry over here, because it is apparently his birthday. Congratulations on turning 18, my friend. Welcome to adulthood. We're so very thankful for, I have no idea how old he is. So happy birthday, Mike. We're very thankful for you, for your green name status, and for your dedication to the channel and your loyalty and always tuning in. And just really looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in crypto, and you got to share it with us. Let us know how your birthday is going, my friend. Make sure to sing him happy birthday in your living rooms and trucks all around the nation, wherever you guys are. We also have another member in chat that I'm very excited to announce. It is none other than Army Piper. He said, I just sang, got a real good feeling out loud when I see the black screen. Thank you so very much, Army Piper. And Mr. Army Piper is none other than the man, the myth, the legend that helped me understand how to use one of our new sponsors, none other than Chart Prime. And we're going to be looking at that indicator a little bit later. So shout out to him. Big name in the community over there with Chart Prime. Thank you very much to him. Mike Lowry said, hashtag FinSob. Justin Eubanks said, good morning at Coffee and Crypto. Veronica Gainey in chat said, I hope you and the family are getting better, Jebb. Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday to you also. Crypto Alchemist said, what up, y'all? The sky on the ceiling. How you feeling? We got Mike Lowry again. Grand Roofing Incorporated. Hey. Good morning, everybody. About to get up on a roof. He said, I think I may have timed it good this morning. Just got back to the truck for a few minutes. Good for you, my friend. Justin Eubanks, Mike Lowry, Grand Roofing Incorporated. Let's see. Martine Siebel said, good afternoon, you all. Hello. Brad Geidel's in chat. Classic IT guy. Let's see. Who else am I missing? A mellow fellow. We got him in chat. We got Shane Hansen. A bunch of really great people in chat today. Let's see. Am I missing anyone? Cash of Cats, Mitch Shaw. Let's run through these pretty quickly. We're going to jump into the market pulse here in a second. The classic IT guy, Crypto Smitty, Jeremy Shorter, Brad Geidel again. Let's make sure. Silva Dalla, Gia S. Am I missing anyone? I don't know if I'm missing anybody. I don't think I am. Good deal, guys. Well, we got a great show lined up for you, as I've said probably 13 times now, and I'm excited for it. So let's go ahead and jump on over to CoinMarketCap. As you guys know, crypto's not really doing a whole lot right now. It's pretty much trading sideways, and that's what we're looking at today. So we're going to be diving into some longer-term TA and fundamental analysis today, but I do need to go ahead and get you caught up to speed on what happened over the weekend. Bitcoin up 0.75% over the last 24 hours. ETH up 2.8%. Love to see it. It would be possible for Ethereum to actually be the one to kick off this coming bull market. It is very possible, so definitely keep in mind that that could happen. Binance Coin sitting up 1.21% despite there being a compromise on the chain recently as far as what happened back on around October 7th or so. Not going to get too much into detail on that because it is a little bit of old news, but if you don't remember what happened, essentially a hacker was able to generate 2 million Binance out of thin air worth $570 million. But today, there is some news coming out. I don't have an article up for this, but I can just let you know that Binance is working with authorities right now, and they think they've gotten pretty close to narrowing down the guy that did it. It seems like it's kind of an unorganized crime situation was the phrasing that was used. It wasn't an organized, like cartel did it or something. It seems like it was just some guy in his basement somewhere that figured out a way to compromise the project in a certain way and, well, made off with $500 million. So hopefully, and it seems like it is going to be resolved properly. However, that is deeply concerning for the rest of the cryptocurrency space that an exploit of that size could happen on the fifth largest cryptocurrency that is worth $43 billion. Definitely gives me a little bit of remembrance back to Terra Luna. I've told you guys for a long time I'm not the biggest fan of Binance Coin. I don't know if I even have any of it myself. Not anything against the smart chain, not anything against the smart contracts and its functionality and its use case and the exchange. I think the exchange is actually very solid. If you're looking for an exchange, Binance isn't terrible, although we have some better ones in the description box. But I do have some questions about centralization. I do have some questions about centralization of even just the branding. Binance Exchange, something happens to it. Well, what happens to the name Binance? Well, it gets dragged through the mud, and then the coin loses value just because people don't want to be invested in something affiliated with a downed exchange. If, and I'm not saying it is or is going to, were to happen to Binance. Nevertheless, Binance is sitting pretty right now around $273. We got XRP sitting at 45 cents, BUSD sitting at $1. But remember, guys, Binance just had something terrible happen to it. It has a stable coin. That smells awfully like what we saw happen with Terra and Terra USDT. Excuse me, USD Terra. That was, very concerning what happened there. We lost $60 billion in the span of about 3 minutes in cryptocurrency, and I would not want to see the same thing happen to Binance. Now, before I'd spread any unwarranted FUD, Binance is set up completely differently than Terra. Would not go down in anything near the same circumstances because it's a completely different system. I'm not trying to harp on Binance. I just want you guys to know there are vulnerabilities in crypto, and we need to make sure that they are being patched and that they're being worked on. And if you want to tell me that there aren't, then tell me where that $570 million came from. Let's go ahead and keep on going here. Cardano sitting at 35 cents. Solana sitting at $28.69. Dogecoin sitting almost where it belongs at zero. Well, that'd be where it belongs. But anyway, sitting at $0.06. Now, I love Doge. Was my favorite meme in 2013. I loved it. Like, listen, I was in middle school. I loved the Doge meme. Much wow. It was a great meme. The coin has outlived the meme. Like, by way too much, and I am not too much of a fan of these big community-driven projects, but nevertheless, it's there. It's worth $8 billion if you're interested. But let's go ahead and keep moving on here, guys. We just need to jump into Bitcoin. Let's jump right into it, and we're going to talk about a couple of these articles here a little bit later, but the first thing I want to do is I want to look at Bitcoin. As you guys know, Bitcoin has been setting equivalent bottoms right down here over the last several months. Those bottoms have been sitting right down here around $19,000, and ever since then, Bitcoin has been continually setting lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. I mean, you can count easily 7 lower highs, if not even more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could even count this maybe as an 8th. Those aren't exact touches, but it's pretty close. The point is, you see a major downtrending level of resistance on Bitcoin that's just pushing Bitcoin down and down and down and down again into this level of support around around $18,000 to $20,000, that zone. In fact, if we wanted to be even more inclusive of everything the chart shows us, then we could even draw a box right here to show where our support zone is, and we could even get rid of this just to show that we're sitting with a floor of support, a zone. But the tricky thing is, if we just go ahead and maybe we'll pull this up just to get rid of the outlier there, make this a little bit more realistic, then you can see we're very close to the end here. And this is what I mean in the title, guys, when I say that Bitcoin is just days away from a major movement, or at least it should be. The fact of the matter is, there's a big decision coming on Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin going to break bullish here? Is it going to break straight through the bottom and crash? Or is it going to continue trading sideways? That's the question on the table, and the question that I would like to examine with you today. Because what Bitcoin does in regard to that is going to have a major impact on the next several years of Bitcoin's price action. You might think, Jebb, you're exaggerating. Next several years? No, I'm serious. The next several years are going to be heavily determined based on whether or not we drop down to $9,000 or $10,000, whether we trade sideways in the 20 region, or somehow we get the support to bounce all the way back up into the 30s, which, just being honest with you, I think is the least likely scenario. So let's start by laying the foundation for where Bitcoin is, then go back into the past and look at where Bitcoin has been, and then we will examine the 3 scenarios. That'll be the first half of our show, and then we're going to move into some of those larger geopolitical factors that are having a major impact on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency even right now. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. We also got Thomas Post in chat. We got Justin Eubanks again, Veronica Gainey, Kasha Cat CW in chat. Thank you guys so very much. Good morning from Colorado. Cryptosaurus Rex sends you and Sarah lots of love and crypto gains. Thank you guys so much for that. Really appreciate all of the love. Good deal. Let's continue. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button. We got 200 likes. Let's see if we can't get to more than that. So let's start off here by looking at where Bitcoin is. One of the things I want to show you first is a new indicator that we've been using, and is called Chart Prime. So I'm going to be diving into this a little bit, but you'll have to bear with me because this is a very, very powerful indicator that I have been taught by none other than Army Piper in chat. He's actually one of the community members over there at Chart Prime, and he managed to teach me quite a bit. So I'm sorry, Rick. I'm going to do my very best, and you'll just have to tell me how I did after the stream, or even during the stream. Feel free to tell me in chat if I'm missing something over there, Army. Really appreciate all the support. So, this is, by the way, if you don't know, Chart Prime is a paid indicator here. It's in the invite-only scripts. I have it right over here. Make sure to go to Chart Prime and you can sign up for it. But I just want to give you an early peek at it. We've got a couple different indicators here, and this indicator right down here is the really, really powerful one of all of them. This is Chart Prime Oscillator, and it has a lot of information here. So bear with me. Like I said, I've literally spent about an hour using this indicator, looking at this indicator, and I'm still learning, but I think I can give you enough to make it worth your while. Now, the tricky thing is that we are in sideways movement right now on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, so it's a little bit difficult a lot of times to ascertain what Bitcoin's doing. But with Chart Prime, that does make it a little bit easier. So I just want to kind of break down some of the things going on in this oscillator. There are these different ranges right here, the green and the red, which help to show you whether Bitcoin is in overbought or oversold territory. You can almost think of this a little bit like RSI. If you're sitting up here in this green, you're probably kind of sitting in the 50 to 70% range on RSI. If you're sitting up here above the green or the red, then you're sitting, you could almost say like in the 70, 80, 90% range. And then if you get all the way up here to the red, you're basically at like 95 or 100 on RSI. Same thing down here. Give it basically 50 RSI down to 30 in this red range. Below that, maybe you're getting from 29 to 10, and then down here from 0 to 10, you're in the green. That'd be overbought. So it's moving though, and it's using all of the data from the chart to actually tell you what Bitcoin's doing. These lines right here actually show you divergences between the pattern. You can see this line right here shows divergence where we have uptrending here on the oscillator itself, and then we actually have downtrends forming here on the pattern on the chart. Over here, you can see that there was divergence that was drawn where we have downtrending levels of support on the chart. But then we have uptrending levels of support here on chart prime. That was one of the things that gave us this indication that we were going to see a movement to the upside, or at least a bounce from the low, where you would have seen the confirmation of the oscillator coming into play right here. We ended up moving to the upside, and you can actually see that, well, that's exactly what happened. From bottom to top, we moved 5.44%, which is pretty much the extent of this range right now. Even if you take out this movement, which we'll get to here in a second, we moved up about 1.3%. So it gave you a pretty solid signal. It's going to help you really understand what Bitcoin's doing when it's moving sideways, because Bitcoin's never truly moving sideways. Bitcoin is always either moving up or down. It's I mean, there are actually a few minutes here and there where Bitcoin's literally not moving a single penny, but normally you're going to see something, and it's helpful if we can see all of that in play. We got estimating 1, discovering 3. Love your name, by the way. Know what that's talking about. It's at BTC times housing bubble burst, question mark. We're going to look at that here in a second. Not going to go super deep into chart prime today. Just kind of want to introduce it to you and give you some ideas of what it might be telling you over the next several hours and days here for Bitcoin, because that's what we're really looking at. As you can see, we actually got all the way up here and we saw an arrow and a green. That basically tells us, a green box right here, that pretty much tells us that the market had rallied extensively and it may be getting a little bit overbought. You can even see it says OB right here. You probably have to be in 1080 to actually see this. But as you can see, it says overbought right there. If you heard me do this number and sound like I'm moving around the microphone, I kind of looked in there to see. It says OB overbought. You can see this oscillator, which is actually an oscillator, pretty much in an oscillator, got all the way up here. We saw green on this candlestick, and one of the great things about this indicator is it doesn't do repainting. It doesn't, and it's wonderful. You can see we saw this green dot right here at the very top, and then it started to keel over. And then we saw the red dot tell us that we were actually confirmed to start moving to the downside, and now we're starting to see more movement as we're pushing back down into this territory. That basically means that in these two candlesticks, we had confirmation that a movement was coming, and that can give us a lot of certainty, at least a lot of confidence, maybe not certainty, that the market's going to start pushing back down towards this middle line here in the middle of chart prime. And then we could also use something else like chart prime patterns over here to give us an idea of any different ranges or areas that chart prime might be showing us there would be support in. In fact, if you go to chart patterns V2, which is a part of chart prime, you can go over here to inputs. I think it's visibility. Actually, I'm going to have to find that again. It's not in here. Is it in candlestick patterns? I'll have to get it on another stream because I forgot where it was. But nevertheless, there's another part of the indicator package here that will give you different levels of support and resistance automatically drawn for you. It's really, really cool. I love that. It's called trend lines, and it shows you those trend lines. And you can even see here, even though I don't think I have that on, you can see that we're getting quite a lot of different trend lines forming here, even with the different levels and the not the different levels, but the different levels, but also the ranges for how far they're going to go. So you can see right now we're in this range that's been drawn here by chart prime. You could say, okay, well, we might hold this, but if not, we might fall to the downside. And in fact, just using some normal technical analysis here, you can see this is a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, and that could lead us moving to the downside even more. Chart prime gave us a lot of information on that. So just kind of wanted to pilot that for you, give you guys a little bit of a look at this. I'm definitely not an expert on it, but I have found it to be pretty helpful, and using it in tandem with our other indicators, we can get quite a lot of understanding about where Bitcoin is and where Bitcoin is going. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and continue using that. Thank you very much, Army Piper. Looks like Oracle is the one that has it. Let me make sure I get Market Oracle up here. That's the one I forgot. Market Oracle, it says it right in here. If I remember correctly, it will be at the bottom trend lines. Boom, there we go. I remembered where it was. I just didn't have the right indicator up. Let's go ahead and see if that gives us any kind of trend lines here. That is Market Oracle. That's another part of the indicator package. That gives us a ton of different things here that I'm not going to get into right now, but it's got, okay, here we go. Perfect. This is what I was getting at. It gave us this downtrend right here, which if we're looking for the downtrend, then we could reasonably expect that, for example, to be a level that the market might pull back to. It also gave us this level down here. And then I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, No, actually, that was the level that I drew. So there's different levels that we could look at that Chart Prime would help us to see that the trend's moving in that direction. So just let me know if you would love to see more Chart Prime. Definitely going to be showing you guys some more. Really, really cool indicator. Loving some of the things I've seen on it. It's even got stuff that I haven't talked about today, like candlestick patterns. We'll just have to get into that another day. But essentially, this shows you where different candlestick patterns have come up, and it makes it a lot easier to weed out which ones actually mean something and what don't. So anyway, going to move on here from Chart Prime. Really enjoying this indicator package. Going to show you some more of it. But I also want to show you not just on the shorter term time frame that Bitcoin should be moving to the downside, and we could be expecting a level of support to come into play right there. In fact, I was going to draw it myself, but I think that this will end up drawing it even nicer than I can. You can see this level of support right here for Bitcoin. If we were to hit it at 2,000 hours today, which would be 8 p.m. Eastern, then that would probably be around $1,900, 19,138. But as far as the slightly longer term time frames are concerned, like the daily chart, what are we looking at here? And then again, we want to look to the back. We want to look back to look forward. That's what TA is in the most part. We have a very strong downtrend, and if you remember, guys, Lux Algo has a strong sell signal that has been in play all the way since back here. If you guys don't have Lux Algo, you should get it. It's a phenomenal technical indicator, gives you great signals, and one of the signals that I'm loving from it right now is this sell signal that started back here in early April. We're still under that sell signal. That sell signal is helping to push Bitcoin to the downside, and we're still under it. The tricky thing is to get above that Lux Algo buy signal. We need to see the market rally up here above $21,500, above the trend catcher, and then we need to see it probably push up to 23 to 24 before we can even confirm that. So this kind of goes back to what I've been talking about on the chart for a long time, which is where for Bitcoin to go into a big rally, people need to think that it's bottomed out so that they feel confident to buy it, so they don't think that they're about to get wrecked in their trade because they should have been short because the market went to the downside. But you might say, people that would be shorting the market right now don't want to short the market because the market has already dropped so far from the last sell signal. That's the tricky thing. So what do we do with that? Well, that's the hard thing. What do we do with that? Well, we trade sideways, and that's kind of what Bitcoin's doing right now, is just moving sideways. And that's not terribly helpful for anybody involved, except for those of us who are willing to have patience and use this time to build our understanding of cryptocurrency markets. So that's what we're doing here. By the way, if you're enjoying today's stream, make sure to smash that like button. We really appreciate you all tuning in. Bitcoin's short-term time frame is telling us, look, there's a big movement that should be happening relatively soon. But remember, we have to look back to look forward, and then we'll look at those three scenarios and then go on to geopolitics, because don't you just love a nice dose of geopolitics? Let's go ahead and look at this. Bitcoin essentially has another week or so before it gets to the end of this triangle pattern, and the next 10 days or so are going to be telling. But the thing is, if we go back in history, one of the things I want you to know is that Bitcoin actually had reason to believe that it was going to break a trend line like this before. For example, in 2018, we saw, and by the way, there was a question in chat, I forgot, Ryan Kessler said, this program draws its own trend lines. Yes, it does, and I actually really like it. Let's see, we had this downtrend right here, that being Chart Prime does. We had this downtrend right here that Bitcoin broke to the upside, and that was wonderful, but we weren't able to actually do a whole lot with it. And one of the things that ended up happening over here, and a few other places in history, that's the first example that comes to mind, is that we actually ended up trading sideways out of the pattern. So I want you to know that that is possible, but if you look at 2018, and then you also look back over here at 2014-15, I'm just going to go ahead and remove all the drawings here, which is kind of painful because some of those drawings were tedious to put on, but we're going to do it anyway. We had a downtrend back here in 2014, for example, where Bitcoin broke bearish out of that. Typically speaking, when you see a downtrending level of resistance in a descending triangle pattern in Bitcoin, especially in a bear market, you're typically going to break bearish out of it. And what ended up happening here in 2014-15 is that the flat level of support we actually ended up using as resistance not that long later. On top of that, if we look in 2018-2019, what we saw is that the flat level of resistance here, right around $5,500, we actually ended up using as resistance the next time. So that could mean that we could end up seeing something happen almost like this, where we have a big drop to the downside, following through with this descending triangle pattern. We drop down, and then we bottom out around $10,000 or so, come up, use this as support, use this as resistance, and then the market rejects a little bit before rallying to the upside again. This could be as late as, this could take as long as, the summer of next year. We form a cup and handle formation. That cup and handle gives us a price target pushing all the way back up to $30,000 or higher, and then that could end up, in fact, it would actually be higher than that if we're not on log. This would end up pushing us, it would be that because if we're on log because of $10,000, that would end up pushing us back up to $30,000 and change, and then that would be enough to really get the market moving again, and then we could have almost a longer-term inverse head and shoulders pattern, rounding bottom, whatever you want to call it. That's a pretty cool-looking face there. Whatever you want to call it, then the market would end up going back into its rally. But the thing is, take a look at the time frame here. And this time frame, I think, is consistent with what we've seen happen in past. We're looking at, like September, October of next year, a full year before we could be breaking back up above $20,000. So looking in past, looking in history, there's a lot of precedent to say that this downtrend, this downward market, this drop could take a while to play out. And if the market does not manage to go to the upside now, it could end up going through that major drop. So let's go ahead and look at these three scenarios: upwards, downwards, sideways, and we will analyze through the lens of technicals, but also through the lens of the fundamentals that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Which one is more likely? So remember, we have three scenarios that could play out here, and all of them are possible, although some of them are more likely than others. The three scenarios are as follows. Of course, Bitcoin could just break to the upside right now. Just something could happen and Bitcoin could start moving up, and Bitcoin could take off like a rocket ship and rally back up to $30,000. And as you guys are talking about, we would be looking at, a lot of people coming back into the space at $30,000. A lot of the institutions, a lot of the more speculative traders would start to get back into the space, and we'd hopefully see a lot of hopium. If we broke above $25,000, of course, that would be our local resistance over here. Broke above this zone over here around the 30 to 32 range, you would get a lot of people coming back into the space, and that would lead to the market going to the upside. Tricky thing with that scenario is that it's not very likely right now for many of the reasons that we're going to talk about later. A lot of them outlined in this article if you want a sneak peek at what we're going to be looking at. This just not likely considering the multitude of factors that I said we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about global food supplies. We're going to talk about pandemics. We're going to talk about China. We're going to talk about conflict in Ukraine. These things and the US dollar, which is ultimately what they're impacting, which is really impacting Bitcoin, are making it very difficult for the US dollar, for Bitcoin to go into a big rally. Why? Because ultimately, a lot of what's going on in the world, believe it or not, is actually driving strength in the US dollar. Again, we're going to talk about that later, but ultimately, you're going to understand a little bit later why that scenario of a very short-term rally to the upside over the next couple of months is relatively unlikely. Someone said in chat, Ryan Kessler said that time frame would follow traditional cycles, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here, that we would see Bitcoin pretty much have a major drop in the next several months, followed by a little bit of lows, down around 10 to 12 to 13, 14, maybe even 15K, but probably down around 9 to 13K, to be honest with you, followed by that big movement to the upside. Don't like saying it. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not too worried about it because I think it is what's going to happen, but the fact is Bitcoin is in a precarious state right now. And even right now, I mean, people are talking about it in chat. Bitcoin is dropping at the very moment. It is going down to that price target that I just showed you. Didn't I just show you that the chart prime was giving us a level of support here, which would be this downtrend? And it's easy to draw. I mean, you can see it just as easily as the indicator can if you've got a trained eye. This downtrend right here gives us the support level. Is that not a great demonstration of chart prime or what? Look at this trend line that it automatically drew, and look at where Bitcoin just dropped down to. Dropped down to exactly on that trend line. Couldn't ask for a better example of chart prime. Really appreciative of that indicator. And again, this is a trend line that you could have drawn. But if you didn't use the indicator, you also might have missed it. And that's one thing that happens to me. Even after 5 years of trading, it's not uncommon for me to miss a trend line and be like, oh man, why did it find support there? And then I look back in past and I say, oh, because that trend line was there that I didn't see. So that's a really not simple, because it's kind of difficult to get an artificial intelligence to do that, which is what Chart Prime did. But it's a very fundamental force that you can use with that indicator. Really appreciative of it. Anyway, what I was saying is that for Bitcoin to go into a rally, a lot of fundamental forces would need to align that just aren't in place right now. So I think that possibility is not out, because a possibility is never exactly out, but highly unlikely. I think we're really talking about sideways movement or movement to the downside. That's where I really think the debate comes down, is are we going to see sideways movement or are we going to see a big movement to the upside? As I talk about this, actually, I'm going to post a poll. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Next 3 months for BTC. Sideways, down, and then also we will add an option for up. Let's ask the community. Let's see what you guys think. We got 900 people watching. By the way, 337 likes. I'm loving it. I think we can get higher. Really appreciate all of you guys in chat. I do think that we can get higher than 342 likes, so let's go ahead and hit that like button. I'm going to tell you off the bat what my vote is. And I'm not terribly confident in this vote because I'm really, really, really torn between both of these options, between sideways and down. My vote is downward price action. And the reason, and by the way, to clarify the time frame, I'm talking the next 1 to 3 months. I think the reason for that is a lot of people, and this is where we'll start transitioning into our macro lens, because remember the old saying in technical analysis, charting works until it doesn't, and normally the only reason it's not going to work is because there's something fundamentally that overrid it, but it is kind of the standard. Typically the market's going to move with the charts unless something from the outside world, that could be just a hack, that could be a conflict, that could be a rate hike, that could be inflation numbers, whatever it is, comes in and changes it. Pretty much the charting is going to be the thing driving the market. It's what the traders are looking at, and ultimately they're the ones that are really moving the market. But that investment drives the long-term trend. You can almost look at charting to predict the weather, whereas you look at the fundamentals to predict the climate. That might be a good analogy to use for that. So we've been looking at the weather, but let's take a look back and look at the historical climate and some of the things that are going to impact the future climate. Number one, remember, Bitcoin has never gone through a recession in the way that the global economy has been going through the last 2 years. You can call it a recession. You don't have to call it a recession. You can call it whatever you want. But the fact of the matter is, I am out of focus. Am I out of focus? I think it's pulling me out of focus. There we go. Let's see if I got my tracking. Ha! Fixed it. Thank you very much to whoever said that. Shannon Sharp said that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, guys. I am going to be completely rebuilding this set, hopefully this week, and using one of our Canon EOS Rs. I got the camera literally right there, so that we're not using the A6400 anymore. I think I'm actually a little overexposed, so apologies for that. I will fix that after the stream. But nevertheless, the point I was making is that there's a lot of geopolitical factors that are going into the price of Bitcoin right now, and one of them is the U.S. dollar. So let's go ahead and jump on over to this. Let's go ahead and jump on over to a article that I want to show you, and I will explain why it's so very important to what's going on in Bitcoin right now. Goldman's bullish dollar forecast could spell more bad news for Bitcoin. This is a very short article, so I'm going to read the whole thing and we're going to break it down. The cryptocurrency has fallen as the US dollar index has gone up. What they're talking about is something colloquially known as the Dixie, the DXY over here. It shows the strength of the dollar, not compared to itself, but compared to other currencies around the world. You can see the Dixie is at the highest level that it has been at since early 2002, up here in April of 2002, when we saw Bitcoin, when we saw the Dixie, you can tell I'm a crypto analyst, was sitting up here at 120 points. Before that, the last time we saw the Dixie higher than that was back here in the mid 80s when Dixie went all the way up to 160. Again, this is the relative strength. This is almost like the RSI. This is the relative strength of the dollar against a basket of other major global currencies. So we're looking at the euro, we're looking at the pound sterling, we're looking at the yuan, we're looking at different currencies like that. We're looking at multiple different pesos. We're looking at a basket of currencies that the dollar is comparing against, and it's at its highest level. It's very strong because our Federal Reserve, our central bank, has been extremely hawkish, raising those rates, trying to help the dollar be strong. Ultimately, the dollar has retained a lot of strength. Not because the dollar has retained strength, but because the rest of the currencies around the world are getting shredded. Like, they're getting destroyed, guys. It wasn't just the United States that printed a ton of money. Everybody did. So we've printed a bunch of money and devalued our currency, but everybody else has done it worse. It's almost like, yeah, I was going 5 over, officer, but he was going over 10, so I must be good, right? No, you were still speeding, but you weren't speeding as bad as that guy, so you're doing better than him. That's what we're looking at right now. The U.S. dollar was still speeding, wasn't speeding as bad as everybody else, so it's keeping more strength. the Dixie is a very important metric because when the Dixie is struggling, Bitcoin does well. There's a very strong correlation in it. I don't have time to go into it all today, but when you see the Dixie being as strong as it has been this year and starting in the later part of last year, then you start to see why Bitcoin has had such a hard time. Let's just look here when the Dixie really started taking off. Let's just look here right around maybe October of 2021. If you know the Bitcoin chart, that's October 18th. Let's just look at October 18th on Bitcoin. October 18th was right there. You see the point. Dollar's going down. Dixie is going up. You can see it right here. Whenever the US dollar is being strong, then people have to ask themselves, well, wait a minute. Why would I be in Bitcoin? Everything, dollar's beating everything else. It's not beating Bitcoin. Well, that's the thing. It's not beating Bitcoin because it's still getting inflated. But that's not how a lot of people look at it. That's not how a lot of institutions look at it. They look at it and say, well, the Dixie's doing very well. The dollar's doing great. So I guess that I can just leave my currency in the dollar. And what? Lose 8.2% of it every single year? You got $1 billion in there. You're going to lose $82 million. That's what these banks are not realizing, and they're trying to move it all around and invest in different places and do all these different things. Ultimately, Bitcoin is the only inflation hedge that we have. Real estate does a pretty decent job, but Bitcoin's a much simpler, much safer, much less bad actor prone investment than real estate is. Not knocking real estate, but it really is the only other option if you want to hedge your bets on inflation, unless you're running a company that's continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow and beat inflation in its growth. Otherwise, even companies are in a lot of trouble because their wages need to be 8.2% higher than they were last year just to make sure that their employees can retain the exact same standard of living, not even get better. So the Dixie is a very important metric for Bitcoin because the banks and the institutions and the investors that are not super involved in Bitcoin, a lot of times are looking at the Dixie and they're saying, okay, the dollar's strong. Why would I get in this speculative cryptocurrency that I don't even understand? That's what a lot of these investors would say. But here's the thing. It's not just the Dixie that's making it difficult for Bitcoin. Let's run through a list of issues, and we'll try to loosely run through it chronologically. There's the word I'm looking for. It is December of 2019, and we get news that there's something going on in a province of China called Wuhan. There are cases popping up. January comes, and you start seeing case numbers go from 100 to 400 to 300 to 3,000 to 15,000. I remember watching this. I found out about this, you know what I'm talking about, from Reddit on January 13th or something of 2022, and I watched the case numbers, and I had studied epidemiology in high school just for fun because I'm a nerd, and I remember I studied R-naught, I studied all these things, and I remember watching the exponential growth where case numbers were going up 40% a day on some days, going up 20, 30, 40% a day. I mean, you saw 800, 1,200, 1,800, 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, etc. And then you started seeing casualties, and it was heartbreaking. And then you saw it jump into other countries, into Taiwan. And you ran into this question of, wow, if this thing is ravaging China that badly, how doesn't it go global? And you remember in quarter one of 2020, we watched this thing go from nothing to everything. There wasn't a person on planet Earth that hadn't heard of it. And yet we still don't know if we can talk about it on YouTube. That's some stuff, huh? That pandemic destroyed the global economy in every sense of the word. Every sense of the word. There's not much worse you can do to the global economy than what happened through that pandemic. without literally tearing it down to nothing. We saw 30% GDP erased in the United States in 3 months. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the country. So, it was a horrible thing. And ultimately, the policy ended up making it a lot worse because clearly we couldn't stop it. But we decided to shut down the entire economy and not only have a major humanitarian health problem, but you also decided, let's throw an economic crisis in there with it that we are still struggling with. The US dollar is still struggling with that right now, and we are still seeing major effects of that. We've seen all kinds of economic turmoil that has led to major conflicts around the world. You look at what happened in Afghanistan. Not going to get into the politics on that. Don't want to wade into that quagmire. We got a lot of those over there, unfortunately. But you look at what happened over there with It'd been brewing for many years, but this certainly didn't help. Last year, you look at what happened in Ukraine recently. It's not immediately obvious, but you can kind of trace some of what's going on in the last part of 2022 here to quarter one of 2020 when we shut down the economy and we torpedoed it. Because all of a sudden, you made a lot of people have to start getting desperate for how they were going to be able to retain their power and how they were going to be able to make sure that they projected to their people. I'm talking world leaders here, project to their people that they are still strong. The United States stays strong. So we're the number one global economy. Everybody else suffered even worse than we did. Russia was one of those. And I'm not sitting here trying to justify a single thing that Russia's done. But one of the things that they did is that they started looking for other ways to generate revenue. They started looking for other ways to make sure that Putin seemed like he was very popular. This is what happened in 2014. Going to try not to wade too far into the Ukrainian conflict, even though I've studied it quite a bit recently. But ultimately, you ran into this issue where people didn't trust central banks. People did not trust their currencies. People did not trust their leaders. And then you start getting leaders that have to act a little bit more crazy and a little bit more, what's the word here? Provocative to rally people together under one cause so that they can have some form of unity in their country because everybody's upset that the currency just got eradicated. Their job disappeared. So did this other person that they knew. And then they've got all these questions about, can I trust the government? That's a lot of what was going on in Russia. And so then a scapegoat showed up. Look, it's Ukraine. Unfortunately, that conflict has led to a lot of casualties, a lot of horrible things. Again, I want to be very careful about how I talk about this because I'm on YouTube and also I want to be sensitive as well. But it's had a huge impact on, first and foremost and most importantly, souls. That's ultimately what I care about. I don't compared to your soul, my family. I don't care about money, but ultimately, it's had a huge impact on souls. It's had a huge impact on people, and it's also had a huge impact on the economy. How many billions of dollars are being spent by Ukraine and by NATO nations, by Russia, to fund a war that should not be happening in the first place? How much money is going to that could be going to rebuilding all of our economies? What's the human toll there? We don't even know. It's horrible. Having a huge impact on our economies. What's the toll on the global food economy? This is something that people aren't talking about. Well, I mean, they are, but not in cryptocurrency because people don't realize this relates. What about Odessa? If you don't know, the port of Odessa on the Black Sea in Ukraine is one of the largest exporters of grain in the world. They have all kinds of silos over there. They're full of grain waiting to be shipped out, but the port is surrounded by mines and blockaded by the Russian Navy. Now, a few ships got out recently, but there's a lot of different nations in North Africa, in the Middle East, that rely on grain ship. Italy, Greece, Turkey, that rely on those shipments of grain for their food security from Ukraine. And all of a sudden, they don't have that. So there's all these nations over here in the old world right now that not only, and a lot of them already didn't have any security in their own country, in their own leadership politically, they also didn't have any confidence in their currency and their banking infrastructure if it even exists. Now they've got even less, and now they don't even know if they're going to be able to eat. You've got 1 billion or more people around the world that are in that state. And we're sitting over here in the first world, so thankful for everything that we have. Hopefully, we're continuing to be thankful for that. I'm very thankful for all the things that I have. I am in a ridiculously blessed position in my life to be able to provide for my family the way that I want, have the job that I love. I am so blessed. I am the most blessed person on the planet. But a lot of people are not in that position. Now, hopefully, they view themselves that way because that helps you get through your day. But ultimately, a lot of people are really struggling. A lot of people are really struggling. And what we would like to do, I'm tying all this back into Bitcoin because I know that's what you're here for. Ultimately, what we would like to do is we'd like to say, yeah, guys, look, I know you're struggling. Bitcoin, it's the answer. People just don't believe that yet in some parts of the world. Now, in a lot of parts of the world, people do believe that. In America, in the first world, a lot of people do believe, okay, Bitcoin's the answer to inflation. But what about people that don't have smartphones? What about people that don't have internet? This is something Cardano knows. They're working with World Mobile to get internet online in Africa so that people can use online banking applications. And not even so much online banking applications, but online cryptocurrency applications like Cardano. There's so many people around the world that are struggling right now. Either one, because of the conflict, primarily because they're in the conflict zone. 2, because they're being impacted by the conflict on their food supplies. 3, by people all around the world that are being impacted. And then I'll get to the main point here, or the one of the bigger points here. They're being impacted all around the world based on their food supplies and economically based on all the impact that's having. But then also, the entire world is sitting on its hands wondering, is somebody going to press the red button? Not going to go too much into that today, but how many people really I'm not talking the banks, I'm not talking the institutions, I'm talking about the average Joe. How many people are really all that excited to invest in a speculative asset like Bitcoin when they don't know whether they're going to be able to afford to pay all their bills next year because of inflation, when they don't know whether they're going to be able to eat enough because they live in Syria and they were relying on grain shipments from Ukraine, which is now war-torn, when their country is already dealing with the aftershocks of their own war? How about all the people in the world right now that don't even have access to the internet? How about all the people in the world right now that don't have access to basic running water and basic essentials? These people want to get into Bitcoin and crypto. And there are tons of initiatives in cryptocurrency. A lot of them working with Cardano, some of them working with Ethereum, that are working to get to those people that don't have the connections, don't have the ability to invest in Bitcoin. But how many people have these kind of concerns? How many people in the first world are wondering whether or not a bomb's going to go off and you're going to have your city disappear tomorrow because there's a major conflict that escalated? These people are not as interested in making sure that they're securing their financial future, and well, they are interested in that, but doing it through a speculative asset like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And that's where we come in. That's where we need to evangelize people, because the fact of the matter is Bitcoin is one of the biggest solutions to that. You know why? And this is where I'm going to tie it all up into a bow. The reason, if there's a topic sentence in this stream, here it is. If people are not investing in Bitcoin right now, it's because they don't know why Bitcoin was created, or they don't have the ability to invest in Bitcoin if they do know why it was created. Or they're just not interested. That's possible too. It's our job to show people that right now seems like a bad time to get into Bitcoin because the dollar is doing well. There's concerns around the world of more pandemics, of conflict and escalation and food supplies and energy security this winter in Europe. That's one I haven't even touched on. Nord Stream 2 never got turned on, got blown up. You know, the natural gas shipments are getting shut off from Russia right now. A lot of the continent of Europe is wondering, are we going to be able to stay warm this winter? It's the first world continent. We're not talking about sub-Saharan Africa, which I'm not saying that they should be suffering with these things, but it's the norm in Europe to not have to worry about these things, and they do right now. And that's sad. It's sad anywhere it happens in the world. All of these people are wondering these things and thinking, oh, well, why would I get into Bitcoin right now? I've got more pressing things to worry about. You know, these people that say, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, what are you doing stuff in space? We got problems to fix here on Earth. That's kind of what people are thinking right now. Well, what are you doing in crypto? We got problems to fix here in the modern economy. Well, the same reason we go to space is the same reason we go to Bitcoin. The same reason Bitcoin will go to space is because we went to Bitcoin. The reason is you go to space so that you can build space infrastructure and space architecture and space mining in the future and learn things in space that you will end up bringing back to Earth and making life here better. In cryptocurrency, same thing. A lot of people that don't know any better think, why would we work in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies right now when we could be working on the actual traditional economy? Well, here's the reason. Because in the same way going to space helps back on Earth, working in Bitcoin helps in the traditional economy. And that's what we need to get people to understand, is that, yes, I know we got to meet them at their need. This is how we preach Jesus. You know, we help people with their need. That's what I do on this channel. I help you guys understand technical analysis, and I talk about the gospel in there too, because I care about your soul. It's the same thing, not the same thing, but it's a similar methodology in cryptocurrency. Meet them at their need. Say, look, you don't have food security. Look, you're worried about a massive nuclear war. Let's say you're worried about the economy. Let's say you're worried about another pandemic. Let's say you're worried about these things. Okay, fair concern. Let me help you with these concerns. And by the way, Bitcoin's going to help in all of those. You know why? Because if you're worried about food security, well, Bitcoin is going to help you to retain. And you can quote me on these things if you're talking to somebody who's in one of these positions. You're worried about food security. Okay, well, Bitcoin is going to help you to retain the value of your money over the next 5 years against your local currency, so that you are able to better buy yourself food here in 2 or 3 years when your currency's gone down 80% because you live in Zimbabwe and you've seen the currency crash. And then you're going to be able to hold on to more of that money so that you're able to buy food more stably in the future. Make sure you can afford to feed your family, but anything you got left over, consider buying a few Satoshis. Boom, there you go. That's how you talk to somebody in that situation. First thing you do is you sit there and you understand their situation, because I don't understand their situation. Listening is far more important than talking. The only reason I'm talking so much on this camera is because it's a one-way communication right now, but I am reading chat as I talk. If somebody's worried about finances, say, look, I understand you're worried about finances. You know what's scary? Losing 8.2% of your income next year because your employer can't afford to raise your salary because he can't afford it. You can't afford to live on 8.2% less because you're already barely making it by. While you got a little bit left over, maybe put some in Bitcoin and get used to putting money in Bitcoin and build yourself a portfolio that you'll be able to tap into when you retire. Boom, there you go. You talk to somebody who's worried about finances. You talk to somebody who's worried about a massive global thermonuclear conflict. Well, you say, look, it's all gone anyway, so I don't know what to tell you. Maybe address them on a different topic. Ultimately, people have concerns about the real world. Now, not saying that Bitcoin isn't the real world, but people are thinking, okay, what about this? How does he read chat and talk? I don't know. I just do it. Eric Brubaker, thank you. They've got real concerns, and Bitcoin can help solve those. So what does that mean for the price action of Bitcoin? And we'll kind of tie it all up today. Bitcoin is in a very precarious situation right now. And while it's our job to go and help these people understand, hey, look, Bitcoin is going to be a great episode. Bitcoin is going to be a great solution to many of your concerns. Right now, a lot of people just aren't hearing it. They're hearing the news talk about other things. They're hearing the news talk about sports or conflict or a number of other things. But when Bitcoin goes down to $9,000, $10,000, then you have an even more a powerful explanation for, hey, look, Bitcoin's going to do really well here, but it's down 85%. It's happened twice before, rally 2,000 to 10,000% after that. Ultimately, I think what we need to do is we need to be invested in Bitcoin, and we need to make sure that we have a portion of our net worth in Bitcoin. I'm not saying a huge portion. If you want to do that, that's up to you, but make sure that you have some in Bitcoin, because a lot of these concerns people have are very real, and Bitcoin is here to help with them. Now, as far as the impact that this is going to have on Bitcoin, remember, some of our major concerns, the US dollar is very strong relative to other currencies right now, meaning it's having a hard time for Bitcoin to move to the upside. We've also got, I didn't even talk about the S&P 500 being down 24% from all-time high. We have global conflict. We have potential food shortages in a lot of nations. We have food prices going up in a lot of places. We have gas prices going up. We got a lot of people focusing on real, very serious, close-to-home problems. And they're not interested in Bitcoin right now. Ultimately, it is our job to help them understand why they need to be in Bitcoin, but they're not there right now. And the retail isn't watching. So we can help with that, but the mainstream media is really going to solve a lot of problems in that. When we start to test this downtrending level of resistance on Bitcoin in the next little while, then we're going to end up running into the problem that there's not a lot of interest in the space right now from those people that are too busy dealing with real world problems, like making sure they can feed their families, which is, hugely important. And they're not interested here because they're still looking somewhere else. They don't realize Bitcoin is one of the big solutions to their problems because they just don't know any better. It's our job to help them, but they just don't know any better. So they're not going to be able to help us by buying up the market and moving to the space of the upside. So we're probably going to see a big drop. I think that a lot of those things that I just talked about are going to be some of the major reasons why you see Bitcoin go through a major drop here in the next little while. And, it'd be tempting to say that that's a bad thing. It'd be very tempting to say, oh man, Bitcoin's going to go down to $9,000 to $13,000. That's very sad. That's something that I don't want to see happen. But if that does happen, I want you to know that that's a great opportunity for you, and it's a great opportunity for you to show other people, hey, look, this is why Bitcoin is in such a good position. It's down 98%. Excuse me, not 98%. It's down 80%. It's down 82%. Down 85%. Why would I invest in that? Well, it did it twice before, and then it went up several $1,000s. Do you want to? Let's just weigh the scales here, guy. Do you want your investment to go up 2,000% in the next 3 years, or do you want it to go down 20% every single year, the same way you're seeing in your local currency? Well, gee whiz, I guess I'd rather it go up to 2,000%. Boom, there you go. You just sold somebody Bitcoin. Good job. If only you got commission on that, we'd all go make a lot of money. Bitcoin's going to do very well because a lot of these problems are going to end up eventually, and it's going to take time. I'm not talking about a year. I'm not talking about 5. I'm talking about decades. It's going to take time, but people are going to realize central banking is one of the big reasons why a lot of this is happening in the first place. Central banking is one of the reasons why we have a lot of these conflicts. It's why I don't have time to get into all of it today, but a lot of it has to do with the way that the governments of the world run things, and it's unfortunate. Because they don't always have the best interest of the end user, which in their case, for my case, it's you, the viewer, but in their case, it's their citizens at hand. Bitcoin can help with that. And I want to be a platform where we can help people understand what that is. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like the video if you haven't already. We got 522 likes. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Going to go ahead and give you a little bit of an update, a little bit of a shout out to none other than somebody that you're going to need this coming season, because while we've been talking about the governments, one of the things that we surprisingly have not touched on is taxes. But taxes are a very important part of the cryptocurrency traders' life here in the space, because every single one of those trades that you make is a taxable event, and you want to make sure those are tracked and cataloged and set up correctly, because you can end up in one of two positions, and you don't want to end up in either of them. You can end up overpaying on taxes, or you can end up not categorizing everything, not setting everything up, all the tracking and reporting correctly for the IRS, underpaying on taxes or missing something, and then the IRS gets on you. So either one, you can overpay on taxes, or two, you go the other way and you don't do something right, and the IRS is upset because you didn't do it right, because how dare you not follow the 60,000-page tax code perfectly? I talked to a CPA one time, a different CPA, not in crypto, not this several years ago, and he told me, yeah, the tax code's so long, I haven't even read through the whole thing. This man's been a CPA for 25 years. I don't fault him. It's a ridiculously long tax code, and there's no reason for you to read the whole thing. At the end of the day, the tax code is stupidly complicated, and you need a professional to know how to work it to make sure that you are paying the least in taxes possible, so that you are keeping the most possible, so that you can invest more in Bitcoin and crypto. And that is what Anthony Price is going to help you doing. You can see some of his services over here: accounting and tax for small business and crypto investors. These are just some of the selling points I was just kind of talking about with you. He said, don't overpay in taxes, avoid IRS problems and risks. We handle it all, bookkeeping and taxes. This is amazing, guys. It is complicated. It is silly complicated. I'm talking crazy. Get year-round proactive guidance, CPA, caliber taxes, bookkeeping, and guidance. Those are just some of the things that he has listed here. You can go ahead and check him out, anthonypricecpa.com. He is our cryptocurrency CPA, and we're very, very thankful for him and his ability to save us and you guys money on taxes. You guys, look, taxes are a nightmare. They are extremely difficult to handle, and they also, they're one of the most obvious ways that the government gets money from you. And you want to make sure that you're paying as little as possible. We're going to go ahead and read some chat here, though, because I have been rambling for quite some time. We've got 550 likes on the stream. Make sure to check out Anthony Price. Links in the description. Really do appreciate his support for the channel and him doing a lot of great work for the community. Let's read some chats here. Jebb, do you think the moment Russia uses that will have a huge crash? Peak said. If that were to occur, yeah, you could reasonably expect the markets to completely crash. I have a lot of opinions on why that probably won't happen, which is encouraging. Hopefully, if I'm right. I've actually studied quite a bit about the kind of the chess game going on over there between Zelensky and Putin, and it's complicated. I mean, it's a conflict. What do you expect? It is really complicated. And it's really sad, too, because there's a lot of people that are being hurt very badly and, you know, to the ultimate in a lot of cases. Let's see here. We are closer to the bottom. We're closer to the bottom, the bedrock, than the top, Queen said. Yeah, Queen, you've really resonated with what I said there. What she's talking about is, and Piano Matty B is in chat. Shout out to you, my friend. I thought Jebb was gone. I am back. Talked about that a little bit on some previous streams. Not going to jump into it today, but there will be more information hopefully coming out at some point in the future on that. But as far as the bedrock idea, as you start to, when a tsunami comes in, let's just say, let's say a big flood. Say a big flood happens. It ends up washing away the dirt and all the rock, and then it ends up, if there's enough water, it gets all the way down to the bedrock, and the bedrock won't move. The bedrock stays. It's very strong. When you're building the foundation of a building, you end up having the building, the pylons, go all the way down to bedrock, and that's where they kind of drill in and they anchor themselves. That's where you anchor yourself, is in the bedrock. And what we've seen right now is we've seen a flood. A flood of FUD. A flood of FUD. A FUD flood is what you might call it in the crypto space. And it's wiped away a lot of the dirt. It's wiped away a lot of the, how should you say, less stable rocks in the space. The dirt. I'm not saying dirt is, I'm not trying to degrade anybody. I'm just saying that's kind of the analogy, right? It's wiped away the topsoil, maybe is a more polite term. And everybody that was here that was not strongly rooted in the bedrock has been wiped away. It's exactly what Jesus says about the seed falling on different soils, on the shallow soil and the thorns. It all got wiped away, blown away. But he that built on the bedrock, he remained established. That bedrock in Christianity being Jesus, but in crypto it being understanding the why of Bitcoin. And if we understand the why of Bitcoin, then we have a much stronger foundation than most. Do you know of Project Cosmos on Cardano? NFTs in space soon. Steve M. donated $5 on a super chat. I don't. I'm not familiar with that, but I will. By the way, shout out to Flare Staking. Haven't seen your name just yet. I will go ahead and pull up that, and I will look into that after the stream, is what I will do. ProjectCosmos.io on Cardano. You can see it right over here. I will look into it. Got it right here. Queen said, hashtag FinSoft. Hashtag FinSoft. Nah, you were right with dirt, lol. Well, I wasn't trying to offend anybody. I don't have anything wrong with people that are just here today and gone tomorrow in crypto. It's a little bit different than in Christ. You know, people need to follow him just because they need him. But as far as Bitcoin, I mean, you can live life without Bitcoin. I just think it's going to be more financially sovereign with it. Let's see here. Bedrock present. Shout out to Queen. Yep, we're all still here. Hashtag Bedrock, Grand Roofing said. Hello, Maddie B. Yes, hello, Maddie B. I have an upright piano that my father-in-law bought me, and I need to get it in my house because I love the piano, and it sounds beautiful. I learned how to play the piano on an electric keyboard, and just does not hold a hammer. I'm sorry, I had to do it. Doesn't hold a hammer to a real piano. I got to play a grand piano a while back, and they're even more beautiful. Good deal. Lol, gotta love Jebb. Well, thank you, Diamond Sauce. Tomorrow, all millionaire. That's what people think when they get into crypto. Tomorrow, we're all going to be millionaires. Just Ray's in chat, by the way. Shout out to Just Ray. Hello again. Hello, my friend. Let's see. I will go ahead and reply to that. Boom. We have another donation. Opus One donated $5. Said, will you be doing an Around the Blockchain appearance soon? I would like to do Around the Blockchain. I'm not exactly sure when / if I'm going to. I think I will. Not totally sure. Not totally sure. But I love Around the Blockchain. Love DZ, TJ, BJ, all of them. If you don't know who BJ is, he's behind the scenes. Ben, you know, good friends with all of them. Let's see here. Eric Brubaker said, you can live this life without Christ, just not the next, and this life isn't as sweet. Yeah, you need him if you want to be in the right place in the next life. You sure do. Sure do. I love my Bible. Romans 6:23. Check it out if you're interested. Change your life, change mine. One of you guys, I don't remember who, but one of you guys preached that to me before I was a believer, and helped me come to Christ with Romans 6:23. James Bowler said, I'm sure Ben can spare a person to help you out. Ben's a great guy. He's got a great team also. I've met not all of his team, but a lot of his team. Feeling pretty good. Flare Staking said, at Coffee and Crypto, feeling any better? I am feeling quite a bit better. Still got a little bit of the sniffles and everything, but got my coffee. By the way, if you don't have your coffee, I haven't cheersed you yet. Give me a cheers. I found that I used to get really fancy coffee. We're going to go a few minutes over here. Where in Central America was Sarah born? Sarah was born in the Central American nation of Puerto Rico. Not exactly Central America, CryptoSec guy, but you didn't know any better. I'm just pulling your leg, man. Well, I'm not. She was born in Puerto Rico, but yeah, you didn't know any better. I'm just messing with you. Let's see. Please talk about Willy Woo comment of 42 million Bitcoins sold, where we have only 21 million Bitcoins. I didn't see that comment, but Willy Woo, 42 million. I mean, yeah, this is from a few months ago. I would have to look into this. Oh, look, it's Contrarian Dude. I haven't seen him in a long time. I met him on Around the Blockchain. Look at this. Look at this. Shout out to my friend Contrarian Dude. Haven't talked to him in probably a year. This is the first video that came up. Well, I will look into that comment. I want to make sure I'm up to date on everything. Shout out to my friend over here, Contrarian Dude. Go subscribe to him. I can't believe we're not subscribed to him. Haven't talked to him in a while. Tell him that Crypto Jebb sent you on his latest video. Make sure you go and give him some loving. 6 days ago. Go drop him some comments. Come over here. I want to see it. Come over here. Drop a comment. Say Crypto Jebb sent you. Boom. But anyway, guys, Jebb is multicultural. Yeah, I mean, I certainly am. Look, I don't see that stuff. I do not see it as far as, you know, all of that. Puerto Rico's not a country, though. I know. That was the joke. That was the joke. That was the joke. Kevin O'Leary next week. Thank you for the reminder, Greg. Guys, I have a very special interview coming up very soon, and it is none other than Mr. Wonderful himself, Kevin O'Leary. I will be interviewing him a week from tomorrow, and that video will be going out somewhat shortly thereafter. Not exactly sure what day the interview is going to go out, but I'm very, very excited about it. Cannot wait for that interview. Shout out to Kevin O'Leary, a friend of mine, and he's going to be coming in the chat. Guys, before we wrap it out, though, I do just want to give a shout out to one of our favorite sponsors. They are none other than BitGet. If you guys are interested in getting into Bitcoin, see what I did there with a BitGet, go to bitget.com because they've got this really cool functionality over here that I don't want you to miss. It's called copy trading. You've probably heard of copy trading. Essentially what it is it's the busy man's form of trading. If you don't have time to spend 500 or 1,000 hours learning how to be a profitable trader and go make your 1,000 trades so that you can really get into it, and you got a full-time job, and you got a wife and a family and things that you need to take care of, and you don't want to spend 13,000 hours a day trading, well, you don't have to, because with BitGet, they have this really awesome functionality called copy trading. Now, of course, BitGet is an exchange also. Don't forget about all of their wonderful exchange features like USDTM futures over here, USDCM futures over here. You got spot trading, spot grid trading, but I really like this copy trading functionality as well because you can see what these different people are profiting. You can see this person is up 132% ROI, this person's up 5% ROI, up 26% ROI, this guy's up 874% ROI, and you can see you can actually follow these different people and copy trade them so that you can follow these expert pro traders so that you can make money alongside them by contributing money towards basically making the exact same trades that they're making. If you go ahead and click on these, you can see you got to log in, and then you can go ahead and jump in here with this. It's really, really cool what they got going on over here with copy trading, and it's another way for you to pick up some extra income in cryptocurrency if you haven't already. So if you haven't already, make sure to check the link in the description box down below, and make sure to sign up for none other than BitGet. You can get trading with them right now with the link in the description box down below. It's the third link down there. Going to go for another couple of minutes, and then we are going to go ahead and wrap it out. Crypto Slice said, love you, Jebb. Thank you so much. US can't use BitGet. US does have a restriction on it, so make sure that you look into that before you work with BitGet. Let's see. Let's see. Sub to Contrarian Dude. Boom, there you go. Busy Monday, but I'm still listening today. Shout out to you, Crypto JMP. We're going to go for just another minute or so here. We got all the super chats read. Thank you guys for liking the stream, by the way. We got 620 likes. Let's go ahead and smash that like button. Hey, Jebb, if the stock market crashes, do you expect crypto market to make new all-time high again in the future? Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think crypto is going to make a new all-time high. I think that you're going to have a little bit of a hard time in the next year doing it, but I certainly think we're going to see another all-time high. Absolutely. Absolutely think that. I mean, it's possible it doesn't, but, you know, it's possible the sky could fall out. The sky could fall tomorrow also. We want to live in, you know, it's all... Here's the thing, guys. And I'll say this and then we'll wrap it out. People are always sitting around scared of what's going to happen. If you're really that scared, then I don't want to see you driving anywhere because car wrecks happen all the time. I don't want to see you drinking water because people choke all the time. There's always danger and threat that we're going to face in our lives. And we've just got to learn to kind of get used to a little bit of it because there's always a threat. Ultimately, everybody's life ends in one thing, and it's them not, you know, you get my point. And when you get to that point, there's going to be one thing that matters. There's going to be one thing that matters. It's not going to be your crypto portfolio. Let me put it this way. I heard a story one time. We'll wrap out on this. I heard a story one time about a guy who's very rich, had a big family, lots of kids. He had a wife, I think, that had passed before him. He was in the back of an ambulance, and he was riding to the hospital. He was 86, say, something to that effect. And it was close to the end. And they drove by his bank, and he told the paramedic, he said, look at that bank over there. He said, I got $3.7 million in that bank. And then he drove by an apartment complex, and he said, I used to own that apartment building. And then he got to the hospital, and his family was there. And He was very thankful for all the times he had with them, and he realized, look, he can't take any of it into the next life. Not the bank, not the apartment building he owned. He doesn't have the power even to take his family into the next life. But he did have one thing that a lot of people didn't. He had Christ, and because he had that, he ended up in heaven, and he's up there right now, in paradise. And just so you know, this is a made-up story. This isn't a real story, but it drives a point home that when you get to the end of your life and when you actually go into the next life, you don't get to bring any of it with you. Hopefully, those around you are believers, and they'll come with you to the next life, into heaven. But if they're not believers, we need to pray for them, because there's only one thing that will exist in the next life. And make no mistake, it will exist in the next life, and it's your soul. And I care a lot about your soul, and I'm praying for it. So I just encourage you to talk to Jesus and read this book called the Bible. That scripture that I mentioned earlier, Romans 6:23, says, "For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord." Believe in him and survive and have everlasting life with the Father in heaven. Anyway, guys, that's all we got for today's stream. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Blockchain Buck just said it right there. For the wages of BTC is wealth, but the free gift of crypto Jebb is eternal through YouTube. Definitely not. Yeah, I don't like the idea of putting my name into scripture. That kind of scares me, actually. So probably shouldn't have even read that. But nevertheless, the actual scripture is very powerful. Thank you guys for those who are praying for me. And look, if you're on the fence, don't let me offend you. I really hope that I haven't offended you by what I just said. But I really would encourage you, because I was in the same position 3-4 years ago of thinking, I don't really know if this is real. Like, I don't really know if this is honest. I don't really know if this is true. I thought I could explain everything without it. But I made one decision that completely changed my life and my eternal destination. I stayed open-minded, because I was certain. I mean, I'm telling you, I was as certain as you can be that the sun will rise tomorrow. At least I thought I was. I wasn't, but I thought I was. That it wasn't real. And I kept my mind open. And I actually was humble. And even though I didn't believe at the time, I still asked for the Lord's help in having understanding and humility. And he gave it to me. My life has been changed ever since. I'm not the same person today that I was 5 years ago, and I'm so very thankful. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate all of you tuning in. Cannot wait for this week. Got a lot of great things lined up. Like I said, interviewing the man, the myth, the Mr. Wonderful himself next Tuesday, and we're going to have him on stream. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.